just talk about your journey to get into where you are today.
Ooh, she's a long one.
Yeah, that's right.
No, pretty much. And if I'm honest with you, netball pretty much runs in our veins in my family. My grandmother played it. My mum played it. My earliest memories were being at the netball court, and I had established a love affair with the tuck shop quite early on. You know, $2, I got myself a pie, a Coke, and a chocolate bar. I was in heaven whenever we were at netball. So it all started with a love affair with the tuck shop, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
And quickly drew it into an aspiration while watching the Silver Ferns at an early age. And I was watching someone called Waimarama Taumonu, and she was probably one of our most successful Silver Ferns captains.
Yeah.
And she had this immense mana about her, which means pride. Literally, like, she could just give you one look, and I reckon some of her opponents would shiver. Kind of, quake and fear. So I said at about 4, I said to my grandmother, turned around and I said, Mum, I want to be like her.
Yeah.
From an early age. And pretty much I just had an immense passion for the game. I loved it. I had a ball with me every day. It was highlighted pink, I still remember. I had a rickety old goalpost that was set up in my nan and koro's house next door in the backyard, right by the garden. And I pretty much was out the back every day, playing shots, just had the ball in hand, really. And I think that really led me to have the skill set that I do now in terms of ball handling, because I might not have been good at some things, but you couldn't really fault my ball handling skills, which is, and netball is really valuable. So from there, I pretty much just played for the love of the game and was lucky enough to get picked up in some, really good quality teams. Got spotted in the New Zealand talent identification at the age of 14, and was able to kind of be given access to lots of different resources. Had immense support from my grandmother and grandfather, who took me to everything and made sure that I had everything I needed to succeed. And made the New Zealand under-21 team to come and compete over in Wales at 15. So that was kind of like my platform. Made the Silver Fern squad at 18, leaving school to go to university, and made the actual touring team when I turned 21.
Right.
And then played for 11 years. Had a baby somewhere in the mix in there. And, retired in 2015 after kind of priority shift and life changes, and decided that, my time was done. I didn't have any more to give. I'd spent the tank and absolutely relished my time as a Silver Fern.
Amazing. And after that, you obviously then went to Hong Kong on a different journey. Yeah,
I did. Well, actually, first I went to London.
Yeah.
England for a little stint, and got my head blown off for saying Hertfordshire instead of Hertfordshire, which I'm really embarrassed about now. But I never, ever thought that I would be a fan of England. But my family and I absolutely loved our time, and probably could have seen ourselves staying on there. The people, and I never thought that I'd say that I actually liked the weather or the tube. But I actually really did. I really enjoyed our time there and would easily go back there. I met some amazing people. The netball community there are really welcoming, and I'd love to be able to give back. But I guess first I have to go and give back to my own nation in New Zealand. This then took us here to Hong Kong, and I met some amazing people, and I kind of figured that it was a really neat place to grow, both as a person and as a profession, and ended up under Danny Thompson's wing at Harrow International School, and being coaxed into becoming a teacher, which is where I am now.
Yeah, and you've never looked back?
No, not really. I was too busy.
Oh, good. Oh, brilliant. That's awesome journey. So, like I said, your playing career's over. Now your next journey begins, and it's just the beginning of that one, which will be awesome. Oh, good. Yeah. Cool. Then just linking on to the next one, then, I'm just talking a little bit about your netball days, and obviously you've played high performance sort of netball. Mm-hmm. How would you describe what high performance is?
Ooh, I'd say high performance is when it moves from being something that you just do for fun to something that you do because that is your job. High performance is when you know that you make sacrifices or you make choices to be able to put that before anything else. And some people might say it's a little bit selfish, but if I'm being honest, you don't succeed in any high performance realm unless you put that and yourself first. You kind of have to. You have to be selfish. You have to put that before everything. And you don't really understand how much you give up or what choices you make and how much it takes of your life until you're at the other side. So, but the one thing that I used to kind of think about when it was summertime and everyone was going to the beach or everyone was having drinks at nighttime was that if I don't train now and I don't handy, someone else is going to be and they're going to take my spot. Or I always used to think of my opposition and view them running that little bit harder, that little bit faster, that little bit longer. Yeah. And that was enough motivation for me because I was quite a competitive creature.
Yeah. And then in terms of the silver when you played for them, what would you say their culture was, and what sort of behaviours did you notice when you were reaching the top level? What were they doing every day, all day, every time you're on the court in the match?
I think I was quite lucky because I came in the era where it was moving from amateur to professional. Yeah. So I kind of was able to take it step by step and more towards the game. But at the start of my career, it used to be that you could have a job on the side of being able to play and get paid a little bit or get supported a little bit, and you were really grateful for that. And by the end of my career, that was your job. And everything kind of revolved around that. So there are high performance facilities now where I would go to in the morning. I'd have my first session with my trainer, in the carded gym. So you had different gyms for different carded athletes. Yeah. I was lucky enough to compete at Commonwealth Games and win medals. So I was able to be a level 1 on the floor. So you had your own level 1 gym floor. Yeah. And I was able to go and access that. At the same facility, we had our medical facility, which had massage therapists, physiotherapists, doctors, anything that you would need. So I'd finish, have a shower, maybe go and see the physio, then go up to the recovery suite upstairs. They had a full kitchen, full recovery compressions, beds, computers for study. I'd stay there for a couple of hours, maybe have some lunch in a fully stocked kitchen, and then make my way down for my afternoon session before going to the other recovery suite, which is like a pool and some hot and cold baths, and then make my way home. And that pretty much was a regular day.
Yeah. That sounds awesome. And in terms of what you've probably not mentioned, I might embarrass you a little bit here, but during obviously your journey on your playing career, you also had that educational background as well. Didn't you do a couple of degrees?
Yeah, well,
how many degrees you got, Jules?
I had 3.
3 degrees, amazing, and a top-level athlete. So talk to the listeners of how you managed that.
I think it was more, Danny, that I didn't have anything else to do. No. It was more about balance, I think. I think that's one thing that I really learned was that in order for me to succeed on the court, I had to make sure that I balanced that with some off-court stuff. And I really like learning stuff and feeling like I can hold a conversation about something that I don't know much about, which is why I like to learn. So I figured that I would stay at university and continue kind of that enjoyment path, which I really did. So I started with a physical education degree and then morphed into a psychology degree and carried on with my kind of master's and postgraduate diploma in psych there. And then thought, marketing and management sounds a bit fun. So kind of switched over to that school as well, School of Management. And it was just a really nice way to keep balance in my life as well as adding value to what my choices would be after I finished. Because I could have broken my leg, Danny, halfway through my career, and I would have had nothing else. So I think if you are looking to be an elite athlete, you really also need to look at yourself as a whole person, because you're only an athlete for a short span of your life. So you kind of need to make that time worthwhile. So I tried to cram as much as I could in whilst not compromising any facet of my life.
Yeah. Plus, also you've got there, so you've got 4 degrees because that's your teacher one as well. So Joline,
but I'm playing at that stage.
Yeah, 4 degrees plus a top level playing career, which is amazing. So anything is possible if you put the work in. I like that.
That's right. Absolutely.
No, good. And just talking a little bit about the people who've influenced you on your pathway. Who are those people and why?
There's so many amazing people that I've been able to be under, have time with, work alongside on the netball court. And everyone in their own right has kind of taught me something different.
Yeah.
But I'd probably say the biggest inspirations were first my grandmother, just one because she is the most amazing, honest, selfless person that I know. But she also instilled a real resilience in me that I don't think that I would have got any other way. As a 5-year-old, I used to attend this really small school.
Yeah.
And we went to an inter-school cross country, and because there was only like 3 people in my age group, I went to compete with the like 8-year-olds or something, and because I was really tall. So I went and blazed out the front, was halfway through, jumped over one of the, I'm not too sure what they're called, but jump over the thing that goes into the water.
Yeah.
And I bailed hard, hit my head, hit my leg, started crying. And my grandmother came over to me, and I was last now because everyone had passed me. And she looked and turned to me with a face like thunder and said, "You better get up before I give you something to cry for." And so I got up, and she proceeded to run the rest of the cross country with me.
Wow.
How embarrassing. Having your 55-year-old grandmother run the cross country with you. But I think like in that kind of, she reinforced those kind of principles with me growing up. And now, like, if ever I did fall over, or if ever I faced an obstacle or disappointment, I would always like question myself, what have you got to bring, Henry? What are you going to do about it? How are you going to react? And those types of questions really put me in good stead. So yeah, she's probably my biggest influence. I've had some amazing coaches as well. Joline Henry, who's the current Ferns coach. She's just so amazing at thinking outside the box. One of my team talks with her as a captain for the Waikato Bay of Plenty Magic, we were all sitting there, and I had the likes of Casey May Korpua with me. I had Laura Langman, I had Irene Van Dyke. We were all sitting there, and she says, "The kumara never knows how sweet it is." That was it.
Really?
And we all looked at each other thinking, kind of what's that? And the fact that I have a few theories, but I'm not going to delve into those. But the fact that 12 years on, I'm still thinking about her team talk.
Yeah.
And it generates a different discussion every time about what it actually meant. Yeah. But she's just completely out of the box and sees things in a totally different light. And then you've got the likes of, say, Robin Broughton, who doesn't even need to raise her voice to inspire you. Mm-hmm. So, just some really, really amazing people. You've got Casey May Korpua, take for example, and I'd never admit it to her face, but I love her dearly. But she probably, in terms of fitness, probably was never, ever the best. But when it came to shove on a match and we were down by 2, there was 3 minutes to go, she would come up with something, and that's just heart. That's not training. That's just having a big heart, and you just can't teach that. No. So just, I guess I was inspired by people. I learned from people, and I guess those were just some of the more salient ones.
All your accomplishments, what you've done over the whole of your career, what are you most proud of, and why? Because there'll be many, but what stands out?
Probably 2. Yeah. My first gold medal probably was pretty big. Yeah. It just took, because it seemed to have taken me ages to get it. I had 3 silvers before I got my first gold medal, and that was in Delhi, in India, which had lots of issues in itself with deciding whether or not we would go, the dangers that it posed, whether or not we were going to get sick. There were just so many questions, and you know, knowing that we were kind of there all by ourselves and our build-up would be a couple of months kind of isolated, and then going out on the court, knowing that Aussie were probably in some of the greatest form we'd ever seen them. England, you know, really pushed us in our pool play, and we had Jamaica in the semi-final who also challenged us. And then we went into double overtime in the longest match in history for the gold medal. And I'm normally quite a reserved person, Danny, but I've never ever felt flow like that ever before, where I'm just completely in the moment and nothing else mattered. The euphoria when the whistle went was just, it made everything worthwhile, everything that preceded that, all those times being sick from lactic acid or whatever. It all made it worthwhile. So that was probably one. The other one was my return post having my son. They say that they really do change you, but they really, really do. Both mentally and physically. Some of the challenges that your body has to go through are just phenomenal. So I have the utmost respect for mothers, and always have, but I have an even more so for mothers now, and mothers that actually try and get back into the professional sporting realm, because it's something else on your body.
What are your 3 non-negotiable behaviours you'd expect from yourself or anybody you'd come into contact with?
Ooh, these are tough ones.
It's a good one. It's a juicy one, this one.
I would say never give up. So resilience, I'm just huge on. Even if you're coming last, if you just carry on and carry on and carry on, kind of like the tortoise and the hare, like you will reap rewards just from your efforts. So that's probably one of them. The other thing is honesty. Honesty with those around you, but also just honesty with yourself. Like, did I give 100% today? Have I done something today that's worked towards my end goal? Were you fair to your teammates today? And just asking yourself those real honest questions that I don't think a lot of us do. Like when we're young, you just want to play for the passion. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying a little bit more awareness really will, you know, could help you really excel. And the last one, man, just to enjoy it. Enjoy every phase of everything, because you're never going to be in that space ever again. One of my captains actually said to me one year, you know, let's get out there and just go nuts. This is the last time we'll ever be together. Leave everything on the floor, leave nothing in the tank. And it kind of just resonated with me. And every time I took the court, I kind of thought, this is the last time I will be standing here with these people in this specific moment. How are you going to measure up, Henry? I always used to ask myself all these questions, like self-talk, like, how are you going to measure up? Are you going to be proud? Would your son be proud? Or just things like that. Those are probably my 3 biggest things.
If you were to go back to your school days, maybe here at Stockport Grammar School, what advice would you give to yourself there, knowing what you know now?
I'd probably have to say, to start with, is to dream big. In the first instance, to dream big and not let anyone tarnish or squash or make you question what that dream is. Because, you know, people didn't invent things that weren't invented by dreaming small. Things that were impossible that are now possible weren't done by people dreaming small. And if you do dream big and you fail, that's okay. It's just learning. You know, it's how you get back up and respond and react that really matters. So that's probably what I'd tell myself.